Welcome back to Trail and Ultra Running Training. My name is Will Frantz. I'm a running coach and a strength coach, and the whole goal of this podcast is to help you train a little better so you can improve your performance and have more fun out doing the sport that we love to do. Today is New Year's 2025. I'm going to try to rush this out, so hopefully you can get it on the day, and if not, if you're listening to it a couple days later, I'm going to say all the information still really applies. And I put out an email this morning. And I know some people are have a higher tendency to read the emails, and some people have a higher tendency to do the podcast thing. I'm personally more of a podcast person, and I didn't want it to get lost on anybody because I think it's some hopefully valuable information. I don't know. Anyway, New Year's to me means a couple things. And the biggest one, though, is going to be New Year's resolutions. And I'm not a big resolution at New Year's time. This has never really been a thing I have done too much. I will take a little stock at the end of any calendar year and look at how things went and how I might want to change them. But very honestly, I do this on a week to week basis and try and figure out what I'm doing wrong and how I can try to present myself in the world a little better or a little more like I want to, right? And I think this should be some level of constant process that we all go through. And when I see New Year's resolutions, this is a big thing for a lot of people. And I work in a gym, so this is a thing that I see a lot of and have since I started working in the fitness industry. And for the next few weeks, the gym is going to be a mess. There's going to be so many people there, and it's going to be a batch of new people, and the gym's going to be crowded. And to be clear, I think that's a good thing. I put out a short video on Instagram a few days ago, and one of my biggest frustrations about the fitness industry, and granted, there are a lot, and you've heard a lot of them. And one of the biggest ones is when people who spend so much of their year saying that they want other people to get fit or in shape or whatever, maybe less positive words they use, bitch about people going to the gym, right? Every year, somebody who has been saying that, oh man, we just need to get in shape and run and go to the gym and lift weights, that person gets pissy come New Year when the gym is full, and then they complain about it, which means the rest of us feel like we can't win, right? So I get annoyed about that. I actually love a full gym. Not a huge fan of waiting for a squat rack, but if the trade-off is that somebody else is trying to improve themselves in whatever way they find valuable, then I think that's great. But moving on. The gym will be full, and it will be a mess, and people are going to book consults, and I'm going to talk with a lot of people because it's going to be everybody's looking at a new year and new year, new you stuff, right? And unfortunately, it will actually only be full for a couple weeks because usually about the end of January, there's been a trickle down, and most people have fallen off or reverted to old habits and kind of changed their direction. And most resolutions fail. I've heard a lot of statistics, but I don't think I've seen anything lower than 95% failing at the end of a calendar year. And almost half, somewhere in the 40-ish% range, aren't even going to make it to February, the end of January. And now if we don't, sometimes that's a good thing, right? Sometimes you try a thing and you make a resolution and you get a couple months into it and you realize I hate this thing. And you switch goals and targets because you're allowed to change your mind, and that's okay. But most of the time, it's because we didn't really go in with a solid plan. And the biggest thing that I tend to see go wrong for people who really did, at least to some degree, want to do this thing and just kind of fell off is that they just didn't pick something that they actually wanted to do, right? Half the people who flood the gym for 3 weeks and then leave just don't want to be there. They get the idea that they want to look different typically, or get in more shape, or they had a conversation with their doctor or their wife or their husband or their kids or whatever, and they don't really know how to make those changes. And the internet is a cesspool of misinformation. So you can download an app that promises them some kind of training program, usually a ridiculous amount of weight loss or performance improvement in a very short period of time. And then after about 2 or 3 weeks, they aren't really enjoying the burpees in their shitty online program, and they stop coming to the gym because of course they do. And I wouldn't really want to be doing burpees in a crowded room. I don't like burpees. I don't like crowds. It's one of the many reasons I don't do it. Why I haven't done a bunch of Spartan races, right? But we aren't really enjoying the thing, and we especially don't really want the thing at the end. A lot of these people don't necessarily want to get stronger. They just don't want to feel bad about themselves, right? And if we can fix that problem other ways, then they're going to leave the gym. And I get it. I've been there on both ends, right? Now, if we have maybe a little more, if the choice is like burpees or feeling bad about yourself, I think some people will choose the rat ladder, or they'll find a different support structure and move into something else, right? Now, not everything you have to do shouldn't be your favorite thing in the world. There are things about lifting, there are things about running, there are things about training that I don't necessarily enjoy, but they support the stuff that I want to do, right? And a couple examples that I really have. One is picture perfect, right? I see her once a week and doesn't enjoy them. She doesn't really enjoy them at all. We get along. We have a good rapport. She will tell me if she hates very specific exercises, and I'll make adjustments, etc. But she's just not a person who's going to like weightlifting. Not everybody's going to like everything. I don't like rowing, right? Not everybody's going to like everything. But she's there because, and she's told me this before, so this is a paraphrase, but she's a doctor, and she spends most of her time telling people to get healthier and make healthier choices. And she recommends things like exercise and diet shifts. And she would feel like a hypocrite if she didn't do something very similar. And because of the outsized importance of weight training on your health and strength and longevity and etc., then she wouldn't feel good about her and her values if she didn't come do something similar, right? So she sees me once a week and we pick up heavy things, and then she goes and does other stuff. Right? And I see the same thing with a lot of runners. They don't like lifting weights. They don't come to me because they want to do a ton of deadlifts. They come to me because they enjoy running and they have knee pain. And when they are training at a mileage that will help them hit their running goals, they have a shitload of knee pain. So they come to me to figure out how to get stronger and work on injury stuff so that they can get back to running, the thing that they actually want to do. And it is often going to be the case with any goal. But there will be pieces of it that you don't necessarily want, that you don't necessarily enjoy. But if you're going to do the thing that you want to do well, then you are going to participate in them, or you're not going to do the thing very well, right? Both of those are fine options, but it's a valid choice. So, however, this is not really what we're talking about. These are not people who really want a thing and then have to do 1,000 things they don't enjoy to do it. They don't really want the thing to start with. And I think this is true for a lot of people who make New Year's resolutions in general, and especially make New Year's resolutions that don't last very long. We set goals because they're societally acceptable or somebody else told them that we should have them, not because we want them. We pick these targets that we read about in a book or think looks cool on the internet, but not because it actually drives us in any real way. And I think we should pick goals that we actually want to do. And if we do that, then we'll have a much, much better chance of actually hitting them, because we'll actually have that drive. We will be able to wake up and go for the run when we don't necessarily want to, right? Like there are a lot of people who read a David Goggins book or see Sally McRae on the internet and think it's amazing, and they really want to run a 100-miler or 200 or whatever. Then they get into the training and they can't figure out why they can't motivate themselves to get up and run in the morning. And the answer is they just don't fucking like running that much, right? And it's not that they don't even like running, but there might be a 5K or a 10K runner, and they never really they've done like 2 marathons and they didn't really like it, but they're going to try to go for a 50-miler, right? Like they don't actually enjoy running that much. They enjoy running a lot. Like they have a lot of enjoyment of running, but not necessarily running 15 hours a week. And that's perfectly valid. We have to understand that even if we enjoy the activity, we don't have to enjoy every expression of the activity. We don't necessarily have to enjoy every way that every person does it. We don't have to follow these goals that Sally from your run group followed, or like Ben from the local Facebook group decided he was going to do this year. You can do things that you really want to do. And maybe you'll get back to those other goals later. It doesn't mean that you're never going to do it. It might mean that it's just not a good season for you right now. Like I've talked about a few things that I wanted to do in 2025, and very honestly, the thing that I'm having the most fun with prior to my foot thing was getting faster. I was seeing a ton of improvements on speed that I've never seen before, because, oh shit, I know how to train now that I didn't in my 20s, rather than just slamming my head against the wall. There's actually like a targeted system to it, because of course that works better. But I'm really enjoying that. And I don't know if I'm going to pursue any big, long stuff. I don't know what it looks like this year. I want to get faster. And I also really enjoy being outside. So I think it's very possible I'm going to do some very long treks / run walky stuff in the mountains to satisfy my need for being outside. But most of my training is going to be dedicated to short speed stuff, like 10K and under. And I know that's not necessarily what a lot of people who listen to this podcast are about, partially because of the title, but that's where I'm driven now and this year. And that's probably what I'm going to be pushing towards, is getting stronger and faster. And then that will also help the longer stuff later. But getting stronger and faster now is really what's pushing me to train on a weekly basis. And I should lean into that, right? Like there's no need for me to do anything just because of something whatever said, right? Like let's find the drive that you have, find the thing that like really pushes you to get into the gym or on the treadmill or outside or on the track or whatever it is that's going to help you enjoy this weekly thing, right? Because that's really what is going to push this New Year's stuff for you. It's that it's not, you don't have to hit whatever target. You have to find something you actually enjoy doing that's going to push you in the direction of changes you want to make. Like I want to become a better runner. And the thing that is supporting me to do that is really pushing into the fast stuff. I want to become a better coach. And the thing that's going to allow me to do that is to not hate the sport that I coach. And I'm not saying I was really on the brink of that, but if we can find this drive, find this push, like find this thing that will allow me to make some progress, it will also help me make more progress for other people too. And that's really the end goal, right? Most resolutions fail because the person setting them doesn't actually give a shit about the thing that they set at the end of the day. They had no concept of all the hard work and pressing and everything that it's going to take. They just set it because it was something that sounded right. And then they get into it and realize they don't actually care about the goal all that much, and they really don't like the work. So it falls off after 2 or 3 weeks. And that kind of sucks, because there's a bunch of things that we can do that would be enjoyable to a lot of people that would be supportive. And just because we want to do a thing doesn't mean we're actually going to do it. Doesn't mean we actually have the drive to get there. And then these are compounded by other stuff too, right? Like We often set goals that are way too big. I'm notorious for this, as are most of the people who are probably listening to this. If we have a fat loss goal, it doesn't need to be 30 pounds in 30 days. That's insane. That's like a yearly fat loss goal that people try to push into a month. If we're pushing a running goal, we don't have to go from like 0 to marathon in 3 months either. In fact, we probably shouldn't. It's going to lead us to injury. And we don't have to ramp up so quickly, right? Like I am annoyed that I can't run very well right now because of my foot or run very long. But I know the worst thing I could possibly do is try to rush the return. I know that a return to run program should probably take minimum 3 weeks if everything goes to plan. And if it doesn't, it might take longer. But me trying to rush that is just mean I'm going to stay injured till March rather than mid-January, right? Like what's an extra 2 weeks when the answer is that I might actually be able to get back to it faster rather than trying to rush it and just end up hurting myself. We should understand that it doesn't all need to be done at the end of the week. Like a lot of resolutions are set way too aggressively, I guess, would be a good answer or a good word. And when we do that, we don't see the progress we think we should be seeing. And then we don't give ourselves time to set the foundation that we need to set. And as a result, we don't actually make any progress because we fall off. And then by the end of the year, we probably end up in a worse place than we had intended from the beginning, right? Than we started from, right? And this is how we end up seeing this like year after year downslide for a lot of people rather than slow little amounts of progress. If we set really achievable goals, we would probably hit them, and then we'd feel good about ourselves. Then we'd do more, and then we hit those, and then, oh, look, it's 12 months later, and you've done something that you thought like you couldn't do in a decade, but it surely didn't happen in a month, right? And we needed to figure out what the things we could do that were actually achievable. And the other thing that goes in with this is we need to engage other people in our life, right? Like, even if you do actually want to make a change, there are going to be people in your life that like don't support that. That's not bad for them. That's not mean. It's just like you have a relationship with certain people, and just because you want that to be a different relationship doesn't mean they have to want that. And we get to make the choice about whether you get to keep that relationship and you get to keep it as it is, or maybe not. And this is a tough thing, and it's really hard, and I don't have a good answer for you. There are a lot of friendships that I still hold very dear and who are very important people to me, but I don't see very often because like I don't like drink and party really anymore. I don't party ever and I rarely drink. And as a result, I don't hang out with those people because that's what they still really enjoy doing. I would rather sleep well and wake up early and go for a run. I did not see anything about New Year's. I was asleep before it was New Year's on the East Coast, and I woke up and went for a run with my dog. And I don't think that's necessarily better, but it's better for me. And as a result, like I don't see a lot of people from my ski days, for example, because we might just be in different places. And they might be here now, but they weren't when I left. And we have to realize that that might be a consequence of you pursuing new stuff, is that your relationships are going to change and you might lose some. And I don't know how you feel about that. But if you're a party person and you want to become a runner person and all of your friends are still party people, I damn well guarantee you that if you keep hanging out with them, you're just going to end up being a party person again. And if that's okay with you, that's great. But if not, then you might need to make some adjustments, or at the very least be very clear with your people about what you want and what matters to you now. Now, I know this message might be late for a lot of people. Like you've already set your resolutions. We're however far into the year by the time you listen to this. I'm releasing it about midday on New Year's Day, so you surely didn't set them in advance. But good thing is you can change them, right? Like the other thing I see is that most people who set New Year's resolutions make a big point about the action of this step, like the step forward. Like this day matters for some reason, when it honestly doesn't. It's January 1st, 2025. It's also Wednesday. there'll be another Wednesday next week. And it'll be very similar to this Wednesday. And if we remove the magic, then it's pretty easy to just reset some goals if you determine that this made a difference for you, and just do it Thursday, right? Like start it on the 2nd, and it's okay. You don't have to commit to it. You don't have to stick with this commitment just because you said you would. You should find a commitment you actually want to stick to it, and then stick to it because you said you would. Because you should be honest, like you should hold yourself accountable to yourself, but also not persist in doing things that you don't enjoy or hate doing or don't actually want to achieve just because you said you would do them, right? Now, determine what you actually want, set some things. Life is both like really short somehow and also really long. Like you have time to do a ton of different shit, but not everything. So let's fill our time with the stuff that actually matters to us. And then if we determine it doesn't, pivot onto something new, but definitely don't spend time doing stuff that you really don't want or don't enjoy just because it's January 1st, 2025. Anyway, I hope you have a really happy new year. I hope this is a great start, and I hope for those of you that it is supportive to like set a point and move forward, then that's great. But let's understand that it's going to be a continuing process that's going to keep happening over and over and over again. Have some fun on the trails, go run, go train, enjoy this sport that we all love, and I'll be back soon with another one.